Yes, I knew it was risky, but my family was in New York City for the weekend, and I just wanted to give my kids one truly lasting memory. So I decided to go out and buy 3 tickets to the Lion King musical on Broadway. For me, my 3-year-old daughter, and my 8-year-old son. And they were thrilled. They had never been to a live show before. Finally, it was showtime. And as we came in, the theater was packed. And as the lights started to go down, the actors suddenly started streaming down the aisles in their animal costumes, and all of the kids came out of their seats screaming. And then the actors took the stage, and we were all cued to quiet down. And that's when the true drama began. Because my son couldn't quiet down. He was yelping and flapping his hands and galloping up and down the aisles because he has autism. And I was so frantic, I practically tackled him to the ground. We were wrestling in the aisles. Well, people came to see a show, but we were the spectacle. And the next thing I know, a manager is summoned to the scene, and he comes up behind me and he's angry. And he said, "Miss, I'm sorry, but your son is disrupting the experience for everyone. I'm afraid you're going to have to leave. Now, right over there is the closest exit." Well, the truth is, at this point, I didn't really need the manager's escort because we were surrounded by so many stares of disgust and shock that I couldn't get out of there quickly enough. And as my stomach caved in, I quickly ran the numbers in my head. This was a popular show. So I had stood in line waiting for 2 hours for those tickets. I had hemorrhaged $600, and I'd spent 2 hours prepping my kids for the show. And in the end, we stayed a total of 10 minutes. Now, what's extraordinary about this story is how ordinary it is. According to NIH and CDC data, 1 in every 36 children born today will have autism. Take that in. And 1 in every 4 of those will have severe behaviors and phobias. Now, what that means is that at any moment, a child might suddenly start shrieking, even publicly. She might pull her hair. She might bite herself. And the parents won't necessarily know why. And here's what the statistics don't tell you. A single person isn't diagnosed with autism. The entire family is. Because when you have a child who might break out into a loud public meltdown at any moment, that fear stalks you every single day, everywhere you go. Now, think of the places you all go to. So regularly, you probably take them for granted, right? Maybe the morning coffee, you go to the barber shop, you go grocery shopping, even an airplane. These are all places that families with autism cannot go safely because there is a very real risk that at any moment, they may suddenly have to abandon the venue in total chaos. And after that happens enough times, the parents rationally decide that it isn't worth the risk of bringing the child out. It isn't worth the public humiliation or losing all that money. But worse than all of that, the parents become resigned to the fact that their autistic child will never, ever be able to go to all the places that everyone else gets to enjoy. Now, as my son Zach was growing up, I just couldn't accept this. I thought, no, I am not keeping my beautiful, innocent child locked up at home just because he's different. So I started thinking, what's it gonna take to allow kids like Zach to truly be able to access a venue, to be able to pay and stay there? And I started looking around town for places to rent out. And I thought, let's have some fun. Maybe a water park, maybe a movie theater. How about a trampoline gym? And I said to the vendors, give it to me for 2 hours, because the only ones I'm inviting are families with autism. So I started running events, and the rules were simple. 1, all behaviors are welcome. You're not going to get in trouble. So your kids can kick and scream and lay down and flap and gallop. You just be as autistic as you want to be. Fun, right? 2, siblings are always welcome. And I would encourage the families, bring the siblings, because it's the siblings who bear the brunt of society's exclusion every time that family has to retreat back home. And 3, maybe most importantly, no one apologizes for anything. As I tell the families, for the next 2 hours, you own this place. You are the general public. You are now the mainstream. And oh, friends, that is when the magic happened. So I had one event at a water park, and there was a 26-year-old man who was petrified to let go of the end of a tube slide. We've all been there. But he stopped himself, and he gripped the top of that slide, frozen in terror, surrounded by lifeguards, for 20 minutes. And no one batted an eye, because we all got it. And then when he finally let go and fell into the pool, he was so excited that he went on to conquer the entire water park, slide by slide by slide. I had another water park event where I had a very young little guy. And intriguingly, he wasn't afraid of the pool itself. He was petrified of passing under a single arch to get to the pool. So for the first couple events, he just laid out in front of the arch and he screamed, which was great. I laid down right next to him. I screamed a little. We can all scream. But by the third event, I was able to nudge him ever so slowly under that arch, bit by bit, until he suddenly passed. Then he got up and he sprinted into the pool with all of his clothes on, which was great. And then I was so excited about the victory that I jumped into the pool with all of my clothes on. Because that's how you know it's a real party. But the important thing is that once this young man was able to overcome his phobia in his own way, in his own time, he was never afraid to pass under that arch or any other arch or awning anywhere in town. See, the simple act of setting aside 2 hours was literally life-changing for these children and for their families. Now, I've been running events for over 15 years, and I know what's possible. And what I've learned is that the single greatest predictor for success for children with autism, even those who have the most severe behaviors and phobias, is exclusivity. Exclusive use of a venue for even just 2 hours a month is what allows these children to access and inhabit that venue on their own disabled terms. Now, this applies everywhere. No venue is too small or irrelevant. Think about it. Anywhere that people go on a regular basis is ripe for hosting a population that is still being overlooked all over society. Imagine if a grocery store decided to designate just 2 hours a month for families with autism to shop. Oh my goodness. We parents could actually go to the grocery store with our children, shop, teach them how to shop, and ready? Actually go back home with the groceries. It would be revolutionary. Or imagine if just a barber shop decided to designate, again, just 2 hours a month to give haircuts to children with autism. Word of that would spread so quickly among the autism groups and on social media, that barber would have clients lining up for blocks. Consider your employees, because they want to be part of this change. And every time I go to a venue and I propose a rental, I always get the same level of understandable anxiety. Well, what if somebody breaks something? What if someone gets hurt? But in 15 years of running events, I have never had a destructive or other incident. How is that even possible? Because once the children understand that this space is theirs for them to inhabit on their own terms, that they are not going to be rushed or shamed or punished or kicked out, they relax and they behave beautifully. And they understand that the employees are on their side, which makes it just as exciting for the employees to help them. Now, make no mistake, this isn't about charity. This is good business. When I first started running events in 2009, I had 15 families, because that's everyone I knew. Today, I have over 1,000. And that's just in the DMV area without me advertising. That's what demand looks like. And another thing that's very good to know is that a defining trait of autism is the desire for repetition. So if a child has a good time, if a child develops a positive association, he's going to want to do that thing over and over and over and over, quite possibly for the rest of his life. That's what repeat business looks like, right? But please know, for everyone listening, you don't have to be in business to be part of the solution. When you are out and about in the community, if you see a child who suddenly breaks out into a huge, loud public meltdown, especially if it is an older child and those behaviors seem to be just wildly inappropriate for his age, stop and consider that this may be someone with autism, with parents in the darkest nightmare they have ever known. And those parents might be too frantic to even utter a word, but there is something you can do. Nothing. Say nothing, do nothing. Act as if it's completely normal, because for them it is. And by acting as if it's normal, you are giving them the grace and the compassion that will make the difference between whether they stay rooted to the spot and they try to contain the crisis, or decide to just flee home in humiliation and tears, vowing never again to risk coming back to the spot. Or if you do want to say something, consider the best thing a stranger once said to me when I was at a very low point. My son was laying out on the ground. He was thrashing and screaming. And I was down there trying to contain him. And as this woman walked over to me, I started to tense up. And she looked down and said, "That looks rough." But there you are, lying right there beside him. You must be a really great mother. So I'm going to leave you all with one final thought. In the end, it is all of you who will determine whether our children are shut out or let in. But just know that when you create space for them, please remember, you're not just being kind. You are actually giving them the world. Thank you so much.